Fucking Friday. Greg Medford, and you're going there with Greg today, and I have some guests in the studio. I always love having people come through the factory, come into the studio, and try and get like their reactions from having seen the studio for the first time, or having seen the factory for the first time. And it's the first time in the studio too, right?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Guys, this is Jason and Paul from DLT Trading. A lot of you knife fans who watch the show and lunatics who watch the show, and some of you MK Tooligans, you guys will all be familiar with DLT Trading. You guys get on with DLT Trading to buy knives. There's lots of online purveyors. These guys do one of the baddest ass executions of selling mostly American. I mean, how much of your stuff's American made?
Vast majority.
The vast majority?
Yep.
Of the stuff that sells, yes.
So, you know, it's almost hard to be a reseller of anything and not have Asian stuff kind of come across the desk. And it's not like we're xenophobes who hate foreigners, but there is a war going on, as you well know. And any of you who come to my show know that I fucking declared war on a bunch of goddamn evil, soulless communists. And we just don't like to have their stuff around as much as we can avoid it, right?
Pretty much.
So, Paul is employed at DLT. He's the brand manager for our brand, Medford Knife, that's at DLT. And then what other brands do you manage over there?
I do the direct buying for Hinderer. Hinderer is the other main one. Your stuff, obviously, like you said.
Benchmade, Spyderco.
Yep.
There's several
then
lines.
for the more production stuff, Benchmade, Spyderco will be the other two major brands, and hands in some of the other stuff as well.
Cool. And how long you been at DLT now?
7.5 years.
7.5 years. Are you guys having a hard time finding employees?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I think every employer in the country is having trouble finding
for sure.
quality employees.
So, Jason, tell me a little, how long you been doing the knife gig for?
14 years.
14 years. Okay.
Yeah.
A little tiny bit longer than me.
Yeah.
How many brands do you guys currently carry?
A lot.
20, 40?
North of 40, I would guess, but critical mass and 10 to 15 that are probably 80% of our sales.
80-20 rule, huh?
Yeah, of course.
And I think the brands are probably closer to 100 if you count all the really small stuff.
All the niche stuff
Right.
also, yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. And you guys are in a unique position. You know, you, Blade HQ Knife Center, Smoky Mountain Knife Works, you guys are big. You have big reach, a lot of big client lists, I imagine, at this point. You guys have you guys, I think, are very good smoke signals on the horizon for what the knife business is doing. So I always love hearing from you guys, hearing, kind of what you're seeing trending, and give me a little feedback. Tell me how we're doing in the makeup in the knife world compared to, our peer group competitors, niche products, and the whole 9 yards.
So we've seen very good sales on your stuff, along with the other high-end American-made stuff has been the bigger trend overall for us. It's hard to keep your hot products go out the door seemingly as fast as they come in, similar to Chris Reeve and Hinderer. So, but Medford in general it's always been a great brand for us, and we've been with you for 6 years. 6.5 years, something like that. So it's been a good relationship from the beginning. But overall, your stuff is selling better than it ever has.
And how are we tracking on with our peer group? You know, you mentioned some of them. How are you as equally bullish with those brands as ours, kind of across the board?
I think.
And I mean, I I brought you guys under. You know, I'm not asking you. You guys don't need to stroke my fur. You know.
Yeah. I think American-made cutlery as a whole right now is it's never been stronger. We continue to see strength there, especially at the premium end of that band, I guess, as Paul alluded to. There's really good strength there yet. I think we're living in the golden age of American cutlery. There's never been a better time to sell American-made knives than right now. Innovation that you're working on that we know about, innovation that other brands are working on that we know about. It's an exciting time to be selling what we sell. American-made cutlery has always done extremely well at DLT. I think partially because it's something that we personally are very invested in. I, as the owner at DLT, it's always been what I've focused on. It's, you know, in a very, very small way, I feel like we're helping create American jobs. It's extremely important to me. It always has been. So when you believe in something, it helps you sell it. So I think we've always been a little bit more to the American-made sales percentage-wise than some of our peers. But I think our peers, my guess is, are also seeing very good times in American-made cutlery.
Yeah, I think everybody is. I think it's been
we're all in high cotton right now.
It's a weird risen tide for all of us.
Absolutely.
It's high tide right now, which always makes me, makes me think, one is swim a little further or pull your shorts up so when the water pulls back, you're not standing there naked with everybody else,
Right.
I feel like it's not going to retract to pre-COVID. I think what we've seen is an amazingly bad PR year for all things China. And I think there's a lot of factors that have pushed, the rising awakening of America to what's going on with the Chinese Communist Party, what's happening in China, the politics and how it's an extension, how we buy is an extension of our vote. We get to vote more than just once every 4 years, right?
Absolutely.
Somebody is codifying, checking, marking, noticing, interwebbing every dollar you spend and noting like, because the algorithms are out there searching for every little thing that's going on. I think there's a lot of people who are just kind of sick of supporting countries that are kind of anti-American. And I think that's a part of it. I think the other part of it is they've been stuck home. I think when people are maybe scared or feeling really insecure, they have a tendency to buy tools and pistols and stuff that they could be more I think they want to feel more self-reliant because it soothes them a little bit. And I think knives kind of fall into that category.
I agree, but I think there's more to it than that. I think
good. Bring it. That's what you're here for. I want to hear it.
Absolutely. I think that as Americans, we have a short memory, shorter than we should sometimes. So I think we've seen...
Not me. I hold fucking grudges.
I know. I think we've clearly seen a pro-buying American trend, but, we saw this after 9/11. We've seen this other times, and then slowly people shift back. But I think in the knife industry, the thing why I'm bullish on it, a year out, 3 years, 5 years out, I do think we've seen a paradigm shift where we're not going back to pre-COVID levels. I think it's driven the biggest part on just the sheer quality products that American cutlery companies are putting out. Exciting new steels, MagnaCut being one of them.
Yeah.
All kinds of cool innovation and really exciting stuff.
If you can't compete on price, the only thing left is awesome.
That's right.
I mean, you got to compete on awesome.
And we can't compete on price
right.
in the world market. We
right.
have to do it on quality, and American-made cutlery is. In our tiny little part of the world economy, American cutlery is doing a fantastic job.
Yeah, I agree. Even the guys doing old-fashioned stuff I would never want to do. Even the companies making old-fashioned stuff,
right.
they're really nice.
They are.
Yeah. Because that's really all we have. All we can do is stand on quality and awesomeness. And there's also a generation of people coming along who are they are consumers in a different way. They're consumers with conscience. And before that, I feel like the new people are almost like the vampire Lestat. You know, is a remember from Interview with the Vampire? Brad Pitt, the vampires loved Brad Pitt because he had a conscience. He didn't just turn into a cold-blooded killer. These young people are consumers, just like the Gen Xers and the Gen Yers. They're consumers, but it seems like they want to have their consumption reflect on their values.
Absolutely.
They want to show how savvy they are. They want to show how conscious they are. They want their product to be a reflection of some inner savvy that they possess. So it's almost like the rich guy that wants a Ferrari to show he's rich. They want to consume stuff that show that they're right, which is a kind of interesting phenomenon in the marketplace. You guys came down here. This is your first time through the Shactory.
It is my first time. Yeah, Paul's been down here twice before.
I've been here twice before at the old facility.
And first time at this place.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us your, I guess, first impression versus expectation, or your impression versus expectation, because Paul's been here before and kind of knows the routine. Give us a little sense of that, because a lot of people out there in digital land, they go to Medford University, they watch some of the videos, they go, oh, they're making some part of it, and they maybe don't get a sense of it, because you've been intimately involved in business with us for over 6 years. And today surprised you.
I was blown away. I was absolutely blown away. I was blown away on two main fronts, I think. The first one, just the sheer tolerances that you guys hold. People talk about aerospace tolerances. You guys are blowing their tolerances away. But I kind of, to an extent, I expected that. You have that... you're known for your tolerances, right? So I mean, I expected it.
Yeah, I'm known for being intolerant as hell.
Absolutely. But everything was even more dialed in than what I expected. I've been in enough manufacturers. I see the equipment that you've got.
And you've been in a lot of knife places. Tell us the factories you've been in.
I have. So I've been, most of the major ones, to be honest. It's a pretty exhaustive list. I've been in a few smaller ones, but mainly... name the large manufacturers in the knife industry, and I've been in all of them. And you've got equipment here that stands toe-to-toe with any of them, if not exceeding them, even though some of those places are
bigger,
much bigger, probably.
Yeah.
Impressive, incredibly impressive equipment. Impressive kind of end-to-end control on how you do things, from heat treat, surface grind. You're doing it all here in-house, where you can control how well it's done.
Yeah.
Outsourcing is fantastic, but you're relying upon somebody else to hold your level of quality. I know enough about you to know you're a real hands-on guy. You love the control. You've got it. You've got end-to-end control on making it. So, that first part is just how exact everything is done here, and just the way that you do things and the fixturing. And I told Paul, my eyes were rolling back at times thinking, my God, I'm glad I don't do manufacturing. I'm a halfway smart guy. This is above my pay grade. I don't want any part of this. This is complex. This doesn't look like fun to me. This is hard stuff. So, there's that part of it. The other part was, it isn't just science. I mean, you have some real talented people here doing some real hands-on grinding, some real incredible hand fitting. I don't know if I'm at liberty to say the number, how long it takes to physically put one together and adjust it.
Listen, I have no secrets about this. I tell everybody unabashedly, and people say, God, you don't want to give away the secret sauce. I go, listen, this is so hard. If somebody can watch a video and fucking make good knives, they deserve to be in the knife community.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I'm, you could say anything, nothing.
Okay, so basically putting a Praetorian together and taking an hour hand lapping and hand fitting and put it together, take it apart because it's not perfect, put it together, take it apart again, use some more lapping compound until it's absolutely perfect and fluid opening. I couldn't believe there was an hour of just assembly on every single knife that comes through here.
Yeah.
And the guys in the grinding room, the precision grinding that they were doing, it blew me away. I've like I said, I've been a lot of places where I've seen grinding. I haven't seen any better. Just absolutely impressive tolerances, and then the craftsmen that work here. Those are the two big takeaways. And yeah, I guess you could make any video on anything with knife making, because if you have anything between your ears and you're a guy like me, you're thinking, man, I don't want any part of trying to do this. This is not something that you just write your little check for $5 million and you start making them. Years and years.
This is not for the faint of heart.
This
let me
is
tell
not.
You. One of the reasons we bring it in house, my initial model was, let me find other manufacturers who do all these steps. I'll have them do these steps and we'll collaboratively make this. And what I found out was that all works if everybody knows what they're doing, has a perfectly stable process, they don't have a hungover employee, and they don't wreck a batch of your stuff.
Right.
When they wreck a batch of your stuff, the whole operation literally grinds to a halt. And so I was just too frightened of having my supply chain of material moving out of the building, because stuff goes missing, stuff gets lost, things get stolen. I mean, I was sending my knives out to get them heat treated, and I go, Jesus, they took all that time. What if they get lost? Oh, you get your insurance claim. I go, yeah, but where am I going to get 150 blades again? Because when I started, that was everything, right?
Right.
And so I said, no, we're just keeping it all in house. I can't risk having a box of 500 blades go missing on the way to this heat treat place or that heat treat place. So honestly, it was a little bit of self-preservation, because we're running so lean and I don't have stacks anywhere. I don't have enough inventory sitting on shelves to absorb a 3 or 4 week delay in any one step of the process, or there's going to be half the company with no work. Because it's on demand. We're doing on-demand bespoke manufacturing, so it's real time.
The one thing that I've seen with other manufacturers, not just we lost, X amount. It's we're running 3-4 weeks behind. Then you're in the same boat. Yeah, they still have the blades or whatever they're working on, but now all of your processes are behind. So you've seen that in other knife places, other knife manufacturers, and just in manufacturing in general, but that can be a killer too, which goes in line with what you were talking about, because I've seen it.
We had it with a company that was doing PVD coatings for us up in Oregon, and they do PVD coatings for all the major makers up there. And they had a different manager every few months running their production facility, and somebody got a case of ass towards my company. And I don't know if it was because they're a bunch of libtards and they had some political axe to grind, or if somebody from one of the big companies stepped in and said, hey, we're done with these guys and we can move our work. But they all of a sudden started messing up all of our paperwork, and then the managers wouldn't talk to us on the phone, and then they sent us to the accounting people in Chicago, and they jammed us up, and they almost put us out of business.
Wow.
And it's almost hard to conceive for a group of people that pay their bills on time that could be possible, and you can't talk to the people who have your stuff because they've been advised not to by accounting. Like, it was the craziest thing, and the whole thing felt like somebody squeezed us out. And I think that's what happened. And so that kind of stuff just scares the crap out of me. So as much as I can keep in the building, I keep it in the building, just because I'm always afraid of somebody assassinating me that I don't know about. Well, what's your favorite knife that we make right now, Paul?
Well, I am biased. I own 3 Genesis T's, so that is still my favorite.
Okay. This bed's too hard, this bed's too soft, and this one's just right. How about you?
Praetorian, but the other one that's been growing on me a lot is the Gentleman Jack.
Yeah?
I like that knife a lot.
It's interesting, the Gentleman Jack, I'm actually carrying one in my pocket right now. I absolutely love this knife.
And if I would have checked a bag, I would have showed you what I was carrying, but I have 0 knives with me since we did carry-ons only for the trip.
I love this knife, but I hate it now. And the reason I hate it is because it doesn't have the crisp walk and talk that I've learned to put in the other stuff. As a locking tactical knife guy, I thought this thing was just the coolest thing since sliced bread. And now I'm like, I can't wait to have one that's got a proper half, a proper clicking, walking and talking half stop, So I actually have redesigned the knife, and that'll be our kind of -2 model coming out of it.
Nice.
It is, here's the worst part. We had 250 of them made, and I learned new stuff. I was like, and I almost threw the damn things away. I was like, just because I see what everybody was talking about, but it took a little while. I had to get conked in the head with it. Talk to me a little bit about where you guys live, how COVID's been for the last 2 years up there.
Yeah, so we're right on the border between northern Wisconsin and the upper peninsula of Michigan. I live on the Wisconsin side. Paul lives on the Michigan side. Going through COVID, it was interesting because each state had their own response to it. Wisconsin had a much more common sense response to it. Michigan's governor, in my opinion, was extremely radical and
She's a fucking nutter.
Among the worst governors in the country, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Totally reactionary and cratered the economy in Michigan in every way possible. Now, the last 6 or 8 months, it's pretty much business as usual. People have gone back to...
In Wisconsin?
Yeah, and I think even on the Michigan side, largely, I mean, people, I think, we all know the virus is real, it's a bad thing, blah, 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 but at a certain point, you just have to say we can't...
At a certain point, life goes on.
We can't ruin our future and our kids' future for this virus. Yes, it's real. Yes, it's bad, but we need to get back to work. We need to open the economy. We need to do things. And I think largely in our neck of the woods, people are doing that.
People don't realize, folks who don't have kids, they don't realize how bad this has been on kids.
Yeah.
The separation from the herd, the isolation that's happened. I'm a strict believer at this point that grown-ups are not actually supposed to be around their kids all day.
Right.
It's good in some ways, and it's really rough in other ways. I know the kids went back to school, and it seems like 1 in 4 or 1 in 5 girls at the high school age that my daughter encounters are they've got some sort of gender dysphoria going on. They haven't been running with the pack, learning that, you go left here and you go right there and you go over this and you kind of all do it together and everyone's talking about boys together. And now they're all by themselves. Half of them just start talking about girls.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it's because they're afraid of boys or what, but, my daughter's like, she likes boys, thankfully, and we're talking about it. And I'm like, come on, there can't be 1 in 5 people with gender dysphoria. And she said, oh, yeah. She says it's maybe more. If it was a club, it'd be the biggest club in school. And I'm like, holy smokes.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying it may not be productive for society, and there are weird apparitions when you lock kids in a house for a year by themselves. Not to mention the school and the educational part that's been crushed by not being there.
Yeah.
So and so I was sitting down with the vice principal of my son's junior high, and he said, "Do you know when the last time these kids had a regular school year was?" And I was like, "Well, it was like 5th grade?" He says 4th grade.
Wow.
So 4th grade was our last regular year. 5th grade got messed up halfway through the year. 6th grade didn't happen. He's in 7th grade. I was like, okay, this makes sense because, he doesn't have the organizational skills and we're struggling with all that. How old are your little ones?
5 and 7.
Okay, so you're a little bit free. But high school, junior high is a big transition time. And you're really having to step up and schedule your own homework. And they haven't learned this.
Our kids ended up attending in person the entire time.
Oh, they did.
Yeah,
okay.
they go to Catholic school, so the diocese was committed to in-person learning, and I could not believe that.
Awesome.
I thought there's no way that they're going to make it the entire year.
Awesome.
And they did. Nobody got sick. Kids didn't get sick. No teachers did. One faculty member ended up getting coronavirus. But in person, and I think it was incredibly important. It was important for our kids, but even more so for some kids that is the only stability they have is school. Yeah. Their home life isn't great. Mom and dad aren't teaching them what they need to know. The home learning's not happening. Yeah. I think, I understand the reason for it, and partially anyway, but I think we did a real disservice to our kids over the last couple of years.
I like the dads being locked at home, though, because with all the dads locked at home, they bought a lot of knives while they were sitting around on Instagram.
Man, they bought a ton of knives.
Jesus Christ. I don't know. That was the craziest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah. Excuse me.
When you guys went into COVID, how many of you were there up at your place?
I think 9, wasn't there?
9 including you, yes, I think.
Yeah.
So
You
9.
keep saying 9 including me. Well, yes, I work.
No,
Paul. Jesus Christ.
No, because everybody says, well, how many employees do you have? You don't. If you're a business owner, you don't count yourself. So Jason always counts himself.
If you get a paycheck, you count yourself.
Hey,
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Paul acts like I'm sitting in the corner
No.
office with my feet up watching TV in
So
there.
there's 8 of you working, and one of you eats yogurt. Got it.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
That's not what I meant, but you know what? Whatever.
Yeah. So nine counting myself. So
Okay.
eight outside or paid employees or whatever plus myself.
And if you could snap your fingers, how many employees would you kind of have currently?
Right now, if we had the right people, 12 to 14
Okay.
would be a good number.
So
for
you've
us.
been crushed trying to find people.
Absolutely.
Because you're sitting.
Greg, everybody is.
Yeah.
Everybody is.
No, I get
Everybody
it. But
is.
I'm saying.
Everybody is begging for employees. In our town, at one point, the street we were on, from the highway where you turned onto that street, all the way to the next intersection, which was probably 2 miles down, there was a point where every single business had help wanted signs in the window. We didn't have one in the window because I don't advertise employees for that way.
Yeah.
But we were actively looking, and all the other places had either on their sign or a sign in the window, help wanted, every single business. And it's still that way. And to the point now where in our area, there's manufacturers that would expand and grow this economy, but they're not doing it because they know they can't find employees to come to work. So they're just peeling back.
It's another form of supply chain problem. When you
absolutely.
don't have manpower because the government has intervened and undermined people's need to work. There is maybe it's 1 in 5 people in this country, if given the option to kind of do bupkis or kind of do an entry-level job so they can hustle and get a mid-level job, so they can hustle and get an upper-level job. They've created enough incentive. They're just not interested. They're like, no way, that's being a sucker for the man.
Mm-hmm.
And that's as bad as running out of steel. People, I think I've said this to you guys, we could snap our fingers and double our company overnight, and I think the market would accept our products for the foreseeable future. People tell me, oh, why don't you do this or why don't you do that? Well, just get a second shift going. If you get a second shift, I had this guy from Britain giving me this lecture on Oxford School of, Kaizen manufacturing efficiencies. And I go, you mean just find another 35, 40 people who are spectacular craftsmen I trust on second shift in the middle of the night to not fuck up all my machines and make these really detailed products? You mean that? I'm like, it's taking me all this time to find the crew I've got. I'm gonna just snap my fingers and whoop up a night crew? Like, are you kidding?
Yeah.
And that's people just say, oh, you shouldn't get more machines and you should get your night shift going. I go, yeah, well, okay, let me know. Go find me another knife grinder right now.
Right.
It's very people constrained.
Build another factory over in Fantasyland.
Yeah.
And then hire the employees.
Yeah, we've got a fantasy land. We have a fantasy factory. It's at night and it's full of fantasy employees. Hold on a second. Wait a minute.
From now on, it's going to be America first, okay? America first.
I just love that guy. I
We
miss
are
him so
led
much.
by very, very stupid people. Very, very stupid people.
I got one more.
We
he
cannot
wanted to
let
chime
it-
in. And
What's the difference between a wet raccoon and Donald J. Trump's hair? A wet raccoon doesn't have $7 billion fucking dollars in the bank.
I miss the guy so much. It's been crazy. We've got 3 more years left, right?
Yeah.
I know. You just both had that deer in the headlights look. It's like, wow, is he going there? Yep, I'm going there.
No, I was thinking that it's a little bit more than that.
You're thinking it's 3 years and 2 months. ever the perfectionist. Have you guys what do you see impact wise? I never anticipated that the Trump administration was going to directly impact me. I've never had any presidential administration do anything that directly impacted me until Donald Trump came along, and then he directly impacted our business regularly. Do you see this guy having impact on our business?
Yeah, negative impact. But let's be real. I mean, even in my opinion, what Trump did for business by peeling back some regulation and stuff, maybe it had a marginal effect on my business. My business I think, operates in a vacuum. I've never got a penny from the government in any sort of grant or any other nonsense. That's always other people that get that. I've had to pay for everything and just be taxed to death. And not to pick on Biden or anybody else, but Biden talking about all the nonsense stuff to stimulate the economy and throw in trillions of dollars to stimulate business. That crap doesn't work.
Right.
You give me the examples where this has worked on a large scale. If Biden wants to create jobs, less regulation, lower taxes on business, and stay the hell out of our way. Let people like you and me hire more people. That's how you create jobs.
And quit throwing relief money out into the market, because this government, this country would jump. The jobs numbers came out worse this a couple days ago, right? Was that yesterday? And they're all freaked out about it. I'm like, nobody can grow because we can't find people.
Right.
We don't have a business problem. We have a supply of talent problem. And then they want to do a trade school. I'm like, we don't need school. We just need some smart people that want to work. That's the biggest thing I see is disincentivizing work.
No, that's huge.
Yeah.
And then, like I say, over and above that, if government wants to create jobs, stay out of businesses' way. Let small and medium businesses do what they do best. Stay out of our way. Don't tax us to death. Don't put in so many regulations and excuse me, nonsense rules that stifle our business. Don't give so many incentives to people to stay home that we can't get employees.
Yeah.
And stay the hell out of our way. That's it. And American business, there is a lot of smart people in American business that will do fantastic on the world stage if given the opportunity and a level playing field. That's all we ask for.
It's interesting. I was kind of a rogue character the first 5.5 years that the business was open, because I almost started out of an anti-Chinese posture, and I had a lot of people spread a lot of hate my way because I was just saying what I thought was obvious. And then he came along and I was like, okay, the most powerful dude in the planet is saying exactly what I've been saying online and getting censored for. Oh my God, this is unbelievable. And I just think one of the things he did is he brought back, he really, really hammered home some awareness about what they're up to. There's a kind of pie-eyed goodness seeing that the left does. And he didn't do that. He was calling it out. He was like, these are bad. They're bad people. They shouldn't be getting our money. They're unfair. What they're doing is wrong. They're taking intellectual property. We're getting our knife models knocked off. They use my name. They use my logo. They use it on knives that I've never even made versions of. And it's been super frustrating for us. And there's nothing we can do about it. Strider's been dealing with it. Gucci's been dealing with it. We've been dealing with it. Everyone has dealt with it. Microtech. Everybody's dealt with these knockoffs. And he was calling them out, and he was just sending out a directive. Hey, stop pirated goods coming in the country. And CBP was stopping, millions and millions of tons of this stuff coming in the country. And now it's green light.
Yeah.
Fentanyl and everything else. Bring it all in.
Yeah. Without
that's what made the big difference for me.
Getting too far into the Chinese people and how they are, and I'm sure they're fine people, but their government has for a long time had a win at all cost mentality. In our country, and not just the Democrats, both sides, we've been more concerned about looking good in the world community than making deals that benefit our country. I had an Australian customer that told me he didn't like Donald Trump, and hey, Trump's not the most likable guy.
Yeah.
So I just asked him. I said, hey, why don't you like him? Because all he thinks about is America, and he makes all the deals for you guys. He doesn't care about the rest of the countries in the world. He's making all the deals for the benefit of the United States. I'm like, well, look, he's essentially the United States CEO. I said, and if I was hiring him to be the CEO of a company that I own, that's kind of exactly what I'd want him to do.
Right.
Negotiate deals for your employer. And I think that's the biggest problem we've had is we've had this, whether it's a superiority complex or, just wanting to always be the good guy and letting other countries walk all over us economically.
Yeah.
We've, whether you love Trump, hate Trump, whatever, the guy stopped the nonsense tried to stop the nonsense, at least stem the tide of the nonsense of ripping every damn thing off, flooding our country with counterfeit goods,
Right.
and not playing by the rules. You know, here's a trade agreement, but one side will only have to abide by it. Well, how the heck is that fair to
Right.
American businesses? It's
Right.
not.
Right.
It's not. And people wonder why American businesses have a hard time competing on the world stage. Well, when you have one country that doesn't abide by environmental laws, they don't abide by economic treaty, they don't play by any of the rules,
Yeah.
but yet you have to, and you have more and more environmental legislation and more rules put against you. Yeah, at a certain point, it's tough.
People don't think it matters, but the VAT tax going on that's imposed in Europe makes basically everything we make completely uncompetitive.
Right?
Now we're all going head to head with Western countries that have worker protection and workers' rights and built-in pay and clean environment, all of that kind of built into the structure, and they've made it so we can't compete in that space.
Yeah.
And then we get sued if you say French cheese or if you say Greek cheese or if you say this country, that country's olive oil or whatever. So I saw him kind of calling out the hypocrisy that's been shoved really right up our ass. And we've had zero representation. We've had sellout without representation. They
Right.
sold us off.
I mean, so that's been my biggest complaint is just, we've had leaders that have been very weak on the world stage, I think, with negotiating deals. And like I say, politics aside, I don't want to dive too far down the political
That's all right.
thing or whatever, but whether you like Trump or you didn't, the guy wasn't afraid to stand up to other countries.
Yeah. I just think there's in the same way we have maybe an awakening about where we buy our stuff from, there may be an awakening about leaders who actually kind of represent our best interest. And that's what there's a struggle going on right now inside the kind of American political body. That's really what the struggle is. Is everybody a globalist who's sold out the day they show up, or are they actually going to represent the people they represent? The Democrats are pissed right now that Kristen Sinema is not just lock and step doing what they want. She's a flukish Democrat elected in a Republican state, and she's got to do what her electorate kind of wants, and she knows what they want. They're emailing her every day.
Mm-hmm.
So no, it's interesting. I have found that this group, everything that this administration has done so far, is actually, I didn't realize it's passively hampering me, because we could do so much more if there were people looking for work.
Mm-hmm.
We're almost at like total employment right now, and that's bad.
Yeah.
Well, cool. What do you think? We showed you the ASK knife a little bit today. You guys both got a gander of that. Our kind of product that we're jumping into that Swiss Army knife segment to compete against them. Been around a long time. They do a great job and they make a great product. And we may not compete head to head with that niche, but how do you think we're going to do in the place with it? What do you guys think of the product?
Well, you may or may not know, but basically the first brand I sold was Victorinox. So it's a brand that's always been near and dear to my heart.
Right.
Fantastic brand. You're making a completely different product.
Right.
It's a different product for a different customer. And I think
And a different price point.
different price point.
All kinds of stuff different, yeah.
But I think it fills or helps to serve a niche that's not being served at all right now. If there's a multi-tool made in the US or elsewhere with premium products, titanium liners, high quality steel blade, I can't think of it if there is.
There may be like a custom one somewhere, but
I don't think
Jason.
so.
Jason, hey, did you turn the AC down 2 notches?
So
Trying to sweat me out of here.
Sorry about that. I was like, I just got hot in here all of a sudden. Politics.
I think with most multi-tools, Victorinox, Leatherman, whatever, the blade is almost an afterthought, and I don't mean that with any disrespect. I just think it is. We're making a multi-tool.
It's not their core thing.
We're hitting a price point, and yes, it has a blade. Here it is. This knife, make no mistake, is very blade centric. You're a knife maker. These things have badass knife blades on them. They're really cool, well designed, Great steel. I don't know if we're talking about what steel it is yet or not, but
Yeah, you could say anything. I'm pretty tabular. I'm like,
I'm not gonna. You can bring it up if you want. But anyway, great steel.
it's S45 yen right now, and it's going to Magna Cut. But go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, those are some pretty cool steels.
Yeah.
Talking about American business, Crucible and Niagara really doing some great things with steels,
for sure.
and really helping again leverage that American-made cutlery kind of taken front and center stage. But anyway, so really cool blades on them, great steel, titanium liners, nice thickness on the spine, but yet tapered enough that they are screaming scary sharp. Walk and talk on them, blown away. Half stop, firm, solid, and then your lock, if we're going to call it that, I guess, whatever. But anyway, in the open position, if you will, to overcome that takes a good bit of force, but not unreasonable where it becomes dangerous. I've seen some where to overcome that, even with a half stop,
you almost cut yourself.
That's exactly right. You don't have that. You're right at that point where, this thing's not going to fold closed on me, but I don't have to worry about cutting my finger shutting this thing either. So the action on them, scale of 1 to 10, they're a 10. As you know, I bought into this idea early. I thought the concept was as cool as hell. The modularity to be able to take it apart, take layers out, add layers and tools at some point in the future. I think the whole concept of it is as cool as it gets. Guys like to tinker with stuff and take stuff apart and add to it and customize it. This gives you that ultimate level of making it your own. You can do what you want with it. If you want 3 layers as it comes, boom, you got it, or 2 layers, whatever. Mm-hmm. Conversely, hey, I want to make this a single layer and carry it in my pocket. I'm going out to dinner tonight. What did it take? 5 minutes maybe? Take it apart, take some layers out, screw it back together, off you go. So real cool factor, but from a function standpoint, it's really functional too and really cool.
You know what? The other thing I think is cool about it is, guys have a tendency to buy the next pistol or the next knife when they're kind of bored with the one they've got. If they're kind of user dudes, are like, it's getting a little time. We should a little freshen up. Almost like when people go to sell their car and they go get it all cleaned up to sell it, and they're like, oh, this is really nice. I'll just keep it one more year. I think guys are going to buy different colored handles and put them on there and be like, my knife's fresh again. I think they'll buy like a Warncliffe instead of a spear point or a Tonto blade and go, it's like having a whole new knife without doing a whole nother knife. I think there'll be some accessory sales that happen off of it.
Yep, absolutely.
One of the things that I liked most about this, I've known about this project for quite some time.
And kind of skeptical.
Yes, honestly kind of skeptical, because the one thing I carry a Swiss Army knife at work every day in my back pocket. The one thing that I always discount, though, I don't really think of that as a knife. It's got some tools that I use. So seeing yours, like, oh shit, the knife should be front and center. Like mine, I don't use the. I carry a knife. I'm not worried about the knife in that. So seeing yours, like, oh shit, this is a knife, not just a multi-tool. It has the other stuff, but it's got the main blade.
Like it's enough of a knife, you'll take it out and use it.
Yes,
it's almost a knife first, versus, like I say, with the other multi-tools, it's a real afterthought. This one, it's a knife.
I forgot I was going to get a bunch of the Mexican Coke. Do you guys know what Mexican Coke is?
There's the real cane sugar.
It's got real cane sugar, and it's in a bottle. There's Mexican Coke in every place down here in Arizona because all the Mexican guys like drinking it. What I've noticed about bottle openers, like the last 10 years, is they always take 2 or 3 tries to get them to work. I want you guys to use the bottle opener before you go. It's got a little claw on it. And it was the thing I said, listen, this has got to be, I want a bartender to want to use this. I want it to be that good. So I drove the guys crazy with the fucking bottle opener. Because like, nope, it's not good enough. They're like, it works. Like, it's not good enough. And we put this little tiny claw on it. And all of a sudden, like I give it to my mom and she just boom, snaps a bottle top off. And I'm like, or, a bottle cap off. And I go, all right, that's what I wanted. And you don't have to try. It kind of grips into it while you're using it. Because it's the tool that's going to be used the most probably on any guy carrying a multi-tool is a bottle opener.
My cadet, the one tool that has the screwdriver and the bottle opener. That's the main reason the main tools that I use on that. And it takes two cracks at the cap to get it off, which I'm just used to at this point.
Right. This one does not. And the other thing about it is, guys are like, Well, why do you make your bottle opener so stiff? Because you're using it in a way that is in the open, that wants to open it. So it's there's no threat of it closing. What are you doing? And I go, well, the ends of it's a screwdriver. I want it to actually really hold out there nicely. So I cammed it. I put the screwdriver tip behind the center line of the knife. So if you push really hard, it's pushing it towards the lock open position. And then it's got that little cam, and it's got a little space between the cam and lobe. When you go to break it, it wants to break, and then it hits a stop.
Mm-hmm.
We put that there because you'll feel it right before, your hand's going to feel that it's starting to bend. And then instead of breaking closed, it hits that little stop. So it's just insurance. I think about using tools. Even when I'm making knives, how's this going to feel when we're really using it? It's probably my number one thing that I judge stuff by,
The other thing that I thought was a cool idea, a cool tool on them, was the little pry that you put on there.
The chisel pry bar?
The chisel pry bar.
Yeah.
It's actually... It's a really cool idea. I think it's something that a guy would use a good amount.
People are going to use it to take stickers off windows.
Yeah.
They're going to use it to reach in and cut little things they can't quite reach, or they don't want a saw on their knife to cut. They can use their chisel to pinch it off.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to pry all the little things that you use to tip your knife to try and pry a thing open. They're going to use that.
Well, that's right. Instead of using your knife blade like a screwdriver or a pry bar, you actually have one.
One.
Right.
Yeah. I think it's so funny for me. For me, it's like a fat guy in a thong. Everyone expects these big chunky knives from me. Even though you guys know for the last few years, we've been making a lot of really slender little pocket knives and selling a lot of them. And then this thing is the antithesis of my Praetorian tie. I make the two opposite ends of the spectrum of knife making. The company runs the whole gambit. So for me, that's great fun. I love how creative it is because you can just 1 layer, 2 layer, 3 layers. Yeah. I think dudes are going to carry it, and I think I'm going to carry it without a blade. I think they're going to carry it as a companion tool to go with their everyday, their main knife. And I think some guys were going to go, I don't like having 2 knives. This has got a cool enough blade. I'll actually carry the damn thing as a knife. Back to your point.
Yeah. Or you're going to fly, take the blade out.
Oh, that'd be...
I had thought about that earlier today. Well, I can just take the blade out of this.
And tool it up.
Right.
I can't, I didn't even think of that, but that's pretty funny, actually.
This is the first trip I've ever taken that I didn't check a bag, and I just feel kind of weird not having something. So
I like having tools with me all the time, everywhere I go, and if I don't have some stuff on my right,
feels naked, right?
Yeah. I'm telling you, I'm at the gym, and you can tell I don't go to the gym very much. No, if I'm at the gym and I'm working out or I'm on a elliptical or whatever, my hand keeps going back down to feel where my knife is. And, you don't have any of that stuff with you in your workout shorts, but I'm always like, I don't want my knife with me. Well, I hope you guys like it. I hope we sell a whole ton of them. I think it'll be great fun. I think the American guys that are into knives are going to like it. We've got a bunch of colors, bunch of options, and a bunch of new things coming down the pipeline. Do you guys see any trends in the knife world that you could glean a little wisdom from your metrics on the rest of us who just consume or make knives? What do you
I think right now it's hard to draw a lot of conclusions because there is still so much scarcity in the marketplace that it really skews the numbers. It's hard to say we see a trend where this product or this type of product in the market is increasing and this is decreasing, because with a lot of the quality products, American made or European made, that we sell, it comes in
gone all the time.
and it's gone in 20 minutes, an hour, 2 minutes. So it's really hard.
Yeah.
I think as you and I talk, there's people that think the market for cutlery is going to go back to 2018 levels or 19 levels in the next year, and I don't see it happening. I see a lot of strength and a lot of resiliency. My feeling was if it was going to happen, it would have happened kind of during late summer, post blade show. You usually hit a little bit of a lull, and if we were going to see real softness, we're going to see it then, because once you get into this time of year, we're starting to ramp up for fourth quarter, so it's certainly not going to drop now. So then the next time would be March, April of next year.
Second quarter.
Yeah, that's right, where we might then see some softness. But that first period that I looked at to try and, because as you know, when we're buying right now, we're trying to project a year and a half, 2 years out for some brands that are backlogged that far. So you're really shooting at a moving target.
Right.
You know, where is the industry going to be in 2 years? And so I'm writing checks many times in the hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars 2 years out. So you really have to kind of be in tune with where you think that market's going to be, or you're going to be upside down or not have nearly enough stuff to sell. And so trying to watch that this late summer, and you know, we saw no real weakness there. I mean, it was good. Fourth quarter, I think, is going to be driven by, if you have product, you're going to sell it.
Yep.
You're going to sell it like crazy.
Yep.
And I don't mean that just in the knife industry. I mean that in everything. If you've got product, you're going to sell it. Hard part's going to be getting the product. It's going to push us into early 2022. You know, we'll have a period then where we'll kind of see where the market's going. But I think overall, based on MagnaCut, based on a lot of great products, ASK being one of them, that is kind of a game changer, really. I mean, there's not a lot of products that come into the knife industry where you say, okay, this is a real game changer. This is really different.
This is different.
This is really different.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's got a handle, it's got a blade, right? It's a knife.
Yeah.
This is revolutionary and different. So I think there's enough of those things to keep that excitement and fuel in the market, because look, at the end of the day, we're selling something as a 100% discretionary product. Almost none of our customers buy these knives out of necessity. They're buying it out of want because they're cool, they're exciting. And so as long as you have that innovation and you have companies continually pushing the bar higher and higher and higher and coming out with new cool stuff, then I think the industry remains strong. And when I look at Medford Knife and Tool, when I look at Hinder, when I look at Chris Reeve, Koenig, Demko, go down the list, and then even the big manufacturers, Spyderco, Benchmade, there's never been a time where I've felt more strongly about the industry and the products that they're putting forth, in the steels that they're using, in the designs, in uniqueness.
I feel like that's what we do best, that we shine at that. You know, rock and roll, surf, do it our way. There's a lot of creativity that happens here. And
well, you guys probably have more than anybody. I mean, when you look at some of the batches of knives that you send to us as well as other dealers, I don't know of anybody that's doing that kind of one-off, just cool. I mean, one cooler than the next, you know. Your brand is a brand that still, when we get a shipment of knives in, Paul and I are knife guys. You know, there's a good chance we're back there saying, oh, look at this one. Look at this one.
Yeah, I love that.
That's cool. What a fun thing that we get to sell. I always use and Paul's probably, his eyes are rolling back of his head already thinking, I know what he's going to talk about. I always say, hey, we could be selling industrial valves, right? Go on social media and get excited about our new valve that we came out with to change the flow of water or liquid or whatever. We sell super cool products. If you're not excited and you don't love what you're doing and you work in this industry, you either don't have a pulse or you need to do something else. It is a cool, fun industry to be in.
And the other thing on that, though, too, with it's cool, but it's quality. Almost everything, all of your stuff is quality made stuff. The high-end brands are quality, where, it's expensive, but this is cool. It's expensive, but man, this is nice. This is really nice. You can feel good.
It's built with quality. It's not just glitzy. Your knives, although they look cool, you can go beat the snot out of them and they'll take it, right?
Yeah.
They're not fragile by any stretch.
Yes, that's what I like. You know, I've had the same Genesis. It was the first run of the S90 that we did. It'll be like 2 years December. I bought it for myself for a Christmas present, and it's been in my pocket damn near every day since. And it's just, I like the feel. It feels good, and it's got a cool style and all that.
There's these things that we run across in our lifetimes that are talismans that speak to us. Sometimes it's a tool that was handed down to us from a grandfather. You know, if you ever grew up wrenching with a dad or an uncle or a grandpa, you know, they had a couple of go-to tools that were in their toolbox. You know, my dad had his red-handled 4-in-1 screwdriver, his blue channel locks. He had a really unique pair of pliers that I stole from him and have in my toolbox. He had a unique hammer. And the thing that, you know, and he had his favorite pair of needle nose pliers. These tools around us that we get used to, that we like, they help us extend ourselves into the physical world, doing things,
Mm-hmm.
because we're all doing stuff, busy people. And there's something about having tools that stay with you a long time. They're comfortable. When you get them, you remember, God, I spent too much money on this pair of pliers, but this is the greatest fucking pair of pliers I've ever had. My dad, I'd love to find a pair of pliers, a new version of the pair of pliers that I stole from him because they were my grandfather's, and you can't get pliers like them anymore. They had a unique, and I'm like, why doesn't everyone make pliers? Because I use these on everything, and they're weird shaped, and they fit against everything. And I think about that when I start drawing knives, and when we're making knives, and I'm putting knives in my hands, I'm thinking about, I want this to go beating around with a plumber. He has this in his pocket, and every time he's got to cut something, pry something, poke something, he's got his favorite knife in his pocket. He goes and grabs it. I heard a lot of guys talk about their knife making, because I've had a chance to, rub elbows with about everybody who makes knives. And everybody has lots of different reasons for making knives. I didn't make knives to be famous. I didn't design knives to outdo my teacher. I didn't design knives so I could get a job with a company doing designing for their company. I made knives because I wanted to make tools that last forever, and I wanted them to feel a certain way. And they remind me of the tools, my favorite tools, from my dad's toolbox and from my toolbox. And that's kind of the zeitgeist or spirit behind the knife designing that I do. It's not for much else than that. And then if people like it, cool. And if they don't, they can fuck off.
I'll share with you a kind of a funny statement from a friend of mine, Les George. Les has, I'm forgetting the exact number or whatever, so I'll paraphrase here, but he said something along the lines of the 100th most famous pro bowler is still 10 times more famous than the most famous knife maker. We're in a small industry.
Right.
If you're doing this to be famous, you're in the wrong business.
It was good fun for me. I was having a little production challenge, and Ken Onion called up. Greg's Ken Onion. I said, "Hey, Ken." He goes, I've been watching what you're up to, man. You're doing some cool stuff. I'm so happy for you. There's a guy who's kind of been around the knife industry a couple of times. He's made a few laps around the patch, and he was just so excited. He was like a kid in a candy store talking to me. There's not, other than Bob Terzola and a couple of the old time knife guys, there's not too many dudes who've been around it in the game, as much or heavily as successfully and as long as he has.
Right.
And to have him call up and just be so excited out of the blue. And frankly, I was so busy, I kept trying to I couldn't get off the phone with him. He just wanted to talk about sharpening. He wanted to talk about how many I could do per hour. What kind of machine am I using? What are you doing this with? And then he's like, well, hey, think about this. He was giving me advice. I was like, Ken, I think I need to fly you out here. So it's fun to see guys that have been in the industry for a very long time calling up really excited
That's
about
cool.
the ASK knife, Now, he was talking about that with me a lot. He said, man, I love what you're doing, man. We're all excited for your success. And you don't see that, I don't know, in too many industries probably.
The other thing that I don't think you see in many other industries that you see in the knife industry that is, to me, I'm always blown away by it and is so cool, whether it's you or Rick Hinder or Tim Reeve or whoever, everybody, I think, not everybody, but the perception is you guys are all competitors and you're conniving and trying to beat the other company.
Yeah. And
at the end of the day, you guys transfer knowledge back and forth. You get along very well. You help each other out. And I've seen that so many times. And I'm blown away with how cool that is. It is super cool.
Yeah, you just mentioned all my dinner partners from Blade Show.
I remember being at SHOT in the last SHOT show there was, and I'd met you at your booth first thing, I think a Friday morning or whatever, and there's Tim Reeve and exactly who Jason was talking about. Rick Hinder just shooting the shit.
Yeah.
Just sitting there talking.
But you guys, you look at it as your friends first, and you want the entire industry, a rising tide raising all boats,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Not, hey, I'm going to try and do this and then push down Chris Reeve knives or Hinder knives. You guys do it the right way, and I think it's so cool. I mean, I've seen you guys interact together, and I've been in situations where multiple of you guys are together, and you can tell you guys genuinely like each other and want each other. Sure,
I think they tolerate me, but
look, you guys are competitive. At the end of the day, of course, you want to be the biggest and the best or whatever, and everybody does. But first and foremost, you guys all want each other to do well and do it the right way. And
we're almost like teammates on a team. Like, you want to be the best player on the team, so you're competing with each other all the time, but you still want the team to win, and we're on the same team. I don't think any of those guys have schadenfreude towards my success, because I know I don't have it towards them. We're reveling in other people's failures. I don't think any of us have that with each other. The ASK knife, interestingly, the idea was conceived in 2016 with Curtis and Mark from Spartan. The three of us were sitting in an Irish pub in Germany drinking, and Curtis goes, "Oh, I'd love to get in that business." He's got that real childish, he's got that real childish energy about him when he's talking about something. Man, I'd really like to get a piece of that money. He says it, that pointy nose of his going up and down. And I said, "Oh man," and I was like, "Me too," because it's got to be different than the crazy Praetorian die collectors. And we started talking about it, and I said, "And I would do this, and I would do that, and I would do this." And he said, "Well, let's do it." And I said, "Okay." And he goes, "I wouldn't do it with anybody else. You're one of the only guys I know who'll just get it done." So I went home and I started drawing. And I sent drawings. He's like, "Yeah, we're too busy." And he's like, "Yeah, we got this going on." And then I said, "Hey, I'm going to run with this. Are you guys cool?" And they're like, "Yeah, you're cool. Go run with it." So it's kind of, the whole idea popped up in a bar, and it's turning into a whole company now.
Nice.
It will be a whole company in 2022. So it's kind of funny.
That's cool.
And those guys, I text out pictures to, Chris Reeve. To Tim and his mom, Ann, and I send out pictures to Mark and Curtis, and to Rick Hinderer, and to Mick Strider, and to a few other guys in the knife business. I'm like, "Hey, what do you guys think?" And everybody comes back and jumps in and is talking. I'm in these big circle conversations with, like, it's the goddamn who's who of knife makers in a world that nobody else knows about but us knife nerds.
Right.
And everybody's just so supportive, and it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. It's not like other industries are a lot more cutthroat.
Absolutely.
But we're still all competing to do better, and everybody is the best knife merc in the room.
Sure.
It's like fighter pilots. Everybody in the room is the best pilot. All right, cool. Is there, you guys have anything cool going on at DLT you want to let anybody know about? Besides the ongoing deliveries of Medford knife? What do you guys have going on? Any new specials or limited releases coming up soon you want anybody to know about?
Probably. I was out the last week, so I'm a little bit out of the loop.
Oh shit, the boss was out.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. You were down with the Rona.
Yes, I was.
I had Rona.
Yeah.
How about you? You got anything you want to tell us about, or are you guys like, I'm not sure if we're ready to tell anybody about this yet?
No, I'm just drawing a blank. I do have a box of your knives showed up the day before we left. So new Medford knife and tool knives on the website soon.
Do you have any specials coming up with any other companies?
Well, we do, Greg. We have a ton of special projects. We've never had more special projects in the pipeline than we do right now.
Yeah.
The big thing is when, so that's in our internal Facebook group. I'm constantly being bombarded with, "Hey, when are you getting the next Spartan Limited?" I don't know. Are you getting them? Yes. When? I don't know. So we have a ton of cool stuff that will deliver this quarter.
Yep.
Just don't know when,
All right.
We can give a little tease, though. Anybody looking for S90V Medford knife and tool knives coming soon, not in the next week, but keep your eyes peeled, because we
did see them in the factory.
Went out to the factory and saw some knives getting in the process, so it'll be nice.
There's a lot going on out there, isn't there?
It's a lot.
When I walk through the building out there, I'm always like, holy shit, I can't believe how much stuff's going on out here. Because I started in a garage by myself doing everything,
You really have some world-class equipment.
It's crazy.
And some of that stuff, I know what it costs. In my mind, because I'm a numbers guy, I'm like, oh yeah, he's got some real money tied up in equipment here.
Oh yeah.
You've got the big boy cool stuff. There's no doubt.
Oh yeah, I don't know.
So, all right. So yeah. So we've got S90V stuff coming from you.
Yeah.
We've got a couple Hinder projects within the next
that fucking guy.
within the next couple months. So we've got some cool stuff working with him that we should see before Christmas. we always have some Spyderco stuff. I don't know if your crowd leans that way. There's definitely crossover, at least from what we see.
No, my crew's mostly heterosexual.
So
Okay, that was a joke.
I can hear the laughing in the other room.
I'm just kidding. Yeah. They're not heterosexual at all.
Yeah, so we've got a couple of Spyderco projects coming up too, but
Very cool.
So always something in the works. Just like Jason said, we don't always know timelines on everything at this point.
We've got some wild stuff coming out from us this year. Okay, so ASK is going to launch. Then we've already started in on our big out the front project. We've already started in on. Oh, make sure after we wrap the show, I show you guys some of the prototype drawings of that. Okay, that's pretty cool. And then we've got. We're doing some Magna Cut limited releases of some of our legacy models. We're going to be using some steel to kind of give some longevity to a couple of models that, maybe we'll start running every other year. We also changed our roll a little bit. I don't know if everyone's talked to you about that yet. We cut about half our models.
I saw the email. I think the morning that we were leaving, I saw an email come through.
So we cut about half the models, and the whole idea is we went through and nobody wanted to give up anything. I'm like, we can't make all these models, you guys. Come on. We can't make all these models with a year lead time. And we went through and I said, look, anything less than a couple hundred, we should not be making these.
Yeah.
So we cut half the models. Now they're not gone. They'll be back. But we're maybe going to run them every other year, but do a substantial number of them. And I forget what I think Jeff may be calling them sunsetting, or we bring them back up again.
That was the terminology in the email, was sunsetting.
So I think we're sunsetting, and we're only going to make 25 models this year. only 25, Jesus. But what it's going to allow us to do is it's going to allow us to get a little deeper back into the bench. So there's some inventory that people can get their hands on stuff a little more consistently, other than every site I go to, every dealer, every picture says sold out, sold out, sold out. I'm like, fuck. Because every time you see somebody looking at a sold out picture, that should be a knife they're buying.
Mm-hmm.
And it just drives me crazy. So we're working on, hitting further into the outfield, a little deeper on every model.
Greg, can you talk about, you had mentioned things upcoming, and this is obviously a ways out, but the Strider project as well as the Vehement project, are you at liberty to speak to those at this point? Or
yes, we have another very cool Strider project that we're bringing along for you guys, as you well know. And, those guys have been great to deal with. We had a weird thing happen at the end of the last project, and I sent out a snarky email. I know it's hard to believe, but I was like, who the fuck are you sending me a fucking email like this? And it was to like Mick's ex-wife. And I was like, ugh. So after I read it, after I sent it, I was like, oh God, that probably didn't go off very well. And they were like, I was fucking persona non grata for the last 6 months. And then I reached out and I was like, hey man, I'm kind of a retard, right? And he was like, me too. And then we just started talking again. I apologized to Marissa, and everyone was like, I'm like, you guys don't know where I was at. Last year was a crazy year for me. And so we put together another good sized project of ARs. I think it's going to be an awesome project for you guys. Now, did you guys have just spear points last time?
Correct.
We did, yeah.
So you guys are going to have spear points and Tontos this time. So
Right.
I think it's a solid win for DLT and for the guys that like that knife. That was an interesting knife. When I initially approached Mick about that, I can't remember if he approached me or I approached him, but we'd been kind of snausing around, kind of walking in circles around each other. They're out in California. It's a hard place to tool up and employ people and make knives just because of the crazy environment they've got to deal with. So I was like, let me do it. And it's right in my wheelhouse of what we do. If someone said, hey, would you do a collab with Benchmade and make a Benchmade knife? I'd be like, fuck no, they're set up for that. Let them do that. I don't want to do all those little parts. If someone said, would you do a thing with Great Eastern Cutlery? I go, oh, God, no. I don't want to grind all that shit by hand. Pass. But if you see something from Strider, I'm like, oh man, that's right in my wheelhouse. Javi's, that's right in my wheelhouse. So I asked them about doing another project. They said, yeah. And I think it was weird. It was so much fun to throw that out into the marketplace because the Strider guys want to hate me. And it kind of loops back to what you were saying. Everyone thinks we're all competitors and we're in each other's grill. The truth is the market's bigger than all of us.
Right.
It's bigger than all of us times 2. So do your best. There's still room for me.
Yep.
Have me do half of my best and you do your best. There's still room for everybody. So nobody, we're not all killing each other because we don't know where the end of the market is.
Right.
Those guys, it was interesting because I've got a lot of guys who won't buy from them, who decided to go over and buy knives. So it was good for them. And then there was a bunch of those guys who, for no reason, they just think that there's animus between us, would never buy one of mine. And they bought one, and now they know what my knives feel like. And so we sensed. So there's some crossover pollination.
There's definitely some cross fertilization.
Yeah.
We saw that. The other thing that I told you earlier that I was really impressed with that model was that sales velocity strengthened throughout the sell-through period on it, which is extremely indicative of, hey, the quality is really good. People like the design, and they're talking about it. And it's because I saw Paul's review on YouTube, I bought it. I didn't just buy it because of the hype.
Yeah,
so
there's this initial like, what the fuck is this? Who is this?
Yeah.
Who made this? Why did? Huh?
Right.
And so that gets out there, and then you see the armchair reviews pop up on YouTube, and then you just see it start selling.
Right.
I know when you talked to me about that, I was like, hey, look, man, if it started slow, that's because it's confusing. And the people that are in the know, they weren't sure what to think. But then when they got them, they went, oh,
They
got
liked
it.
'em.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So I think it's cool. And I think now this model with a Tonto coming to the market is it won't get that kind of ingenue, like this is the first time we're seeing this, what do we do? They're gonna be like, oh, this is a great batch of knives, let's get in on this. So I'm excited about that. The other project we did this year with you guys was the Vehement project. Now we did that directly with Matt. You kind of facilitated that, and I think that was a good move. I mean, he came to me with a really basic design. He let me kind of lean him in a few, he let me kind of shove him around into some directions a little bit, like, hey man, let's not do that. Hey, let's do this. No, I can't do that. If I can do that, it's going to do this. And he ended up, I hate clip points. I think they're old fashioned and gorpy looking. I don't dig them at all. Ugh. It's like a Edsel. Fuck. And I kept telling him, Dad, this should be a fucking drop point. Let's faux edge the top and do a drop point. This is awful. And then it came together and I was like, okay, I kind of see it. It's cool. He's got a retro thing going on. And as it came together, the team, everybody just really liked it. We all enjoyed the shit out of it.
They flip unbelievably good. Matt gave me one, so I've carried one a bunch.
Yeah.
It flips fantastic. Just a great knife. What was the sell-through time on those, Paul? It was less than a day, wasn't it?
I believe so.
6-8 hours,
off the
something
top of
like
my
that.
head. They were quicker than what either of us honestly had expected.
Well,
Because it was
because it's an unknown. It's the first time.
Vehement
Right.
Knife sells awesome fixed blades.
This was their first foray into a folder.
Yeah. So, what I think what happened was I did some 1/8" flippers right before this. We did the flipper, the slim, what do we call it? The flipper FL, the mid-size Praetorian slim flipper. And I kind of got my own little recipe for what makes one of these little knives just flip like a rocket. And he got to be the beneficiary of that knowledge that I had kind of gathered together over the last couple knives. Between the slim middies, the Praetorian slim flipper FL, and all the, we just, we kind of got it dialed in. And then what we didn't know is the whole world was getting caged 16th bearings out of China. And COVID came along and pumped the brakes on every 16th ball bearing on planet Earth. You couldn't get them for months. And then when you could get the bearings, you couldn't get the races. And you need the races badly. And no one's making them. And I know why now, because we tried making them. You gotta, it's a hell of a process making hardened precision ground washers. And we didn't really respect how complicated that was. And
it doesn't sound complicated, when you go to do it.
It sounds simple, but then you go, okay, well, how do you get the thin material? Okay, well, let's just grind some sheets. And I go, have you ever ground sheets of steel to 10,000ths of an inch thick? That's 4 human hairs thick. It doesn't want to stick. It puckers. It buckles. It heats up, overheats, distorts, pops up off your magnet. Do it on a vacuum. Then it holds down in certain spots and not others. It's really hard to make it 10th thou thick. So you make it 10th thou thick, and you, oh sweet, we got it 10th thou thick. And you heat treat it, and then you cut it out with a wire EDM. And now you've got tabs all over it. And you got to get the tabs off. Thousands of little circles. So that's one problem. The other problem is when you heat treat them, they don't stay flat. They potato chip a little bit. Shit, that's scrap. And you throw them all away. Say, well, this time we'll make them a little thicker and we'll grind them afterwards. So you go to grind them and they pucker the other direction. And so what you find out is you have to lap them from the top and bottom simultaneously. You have to lap hundreds at a time in a big disc. You need some specialty machines for that. It's all like little Chinese ladies telling stories to each other kind of work. Our big American fingers, I can't even get anybody in the shop who will stack those goddamn washers. So and they look like washers and they're so benign and they are fucking hard to make. And then to get them all to, they've got to be almost knife hard. And they've got to be perfectly flat and they've got to be within a 1/10.
Wow.
That perfectly flat and within a 1/10, that's almost one of the hardest things you do, So we kind of gave up. And I started throwing money around because I said, oh, man, it's going to shut the whole company down if we don't have races. And we got them again. And we'd been buying stuff that we thought was made in Michigan and was being sold by a distributor in Florida. Turned out it was being made out of Asia.
Wow. Because
we're like, hey, well, this hasn't been constrained. We're up and running with all this stuff here in the U.S. Why can't we get it? And they go, oh, nobody makes that size bearing in the U.S. So, it's challenging thing to deal with. The last year's been a little crazy. And I think this whole next year's going to be nuts with supply chain stuff. Well, listen, guys, totally fun having you in. I hope you felt like it was worth coming down.
It was awesome.
I know we got a little more business to chat about, but I appreciate you stepping in. I think people love seeing behind the curtain a little bit, seeing kind of what's going on out there in knife land. Anything you'd like to shout out before we leave? You want to say hi to Mom?
My mom will not be watching this, so I'll say hi to my brother.
You want to say hi to your kids?
Yeah, Braden, Dawson, hi guys. Tara, better say hi to her too.
Well, shit, if he's talking to his kids, I better quit dropping F-bombs. Hey guys, it's Greg Medford from Greg's World. We wanted to do a little crossover into my business for the day. Got some friends in from out of town and thought we'd spread the love and let you guys peek behind the knife curtain a little bit. I'm out.